The disciples gathered beneath the Bodhi tree, seeking wisdom in the serene presence of the enlightened Buddha. Ananda approached hesitantly, his expression conflicted with unspoken thoughts. Yearning for clarity. Master, Ananda began, his voice trembling slightly, I feel an incessant longing that remains unfulfilled within me. The Buddha turned toward him, his gaze steady and filled with compassion. Speak, Ananda, for within your question lies the wisdom to unfold. Ananda hesitated before confessing. I feel as though I am constantly searching for something I cannot define or understand. The Buddha observed him silently, then raised his hand to calm the disciples. Ananda, the Buddha said, his voice firm yet gentle, the longing you describe is the essence of human desire itself. The disciples exchanged glances, reflecting on their shared struggles with yearning and dissatisfaction. You search outwardly, the Buddha continued, seeking fulfillment beyond yourself, unaware that it lies buried within your own essence. Ananda listened intently, his troubled heart beginning to grasp the weight of these words. Master, Ananda asked, how do I uncover this essence when I am blinded by my own ceaseless wandering? The Buddha gestured toward the flowing river nearby. Observe the river. Ananda, what does it teach you about its nature? Ananda glanced at the water, watching the currents twist and dance effortlessly with the wind. The river flows ceaselessly, guided by forces unseen, he replied. The Buddha nodded in acknowledgement, encouraging deeper reflection. Does the river seek its destination, or does it embrace the journey as an expression of its existence? The Buddha questioned. Ananda pondered this, realizing his own efforts were akin to the river striving against its natural course. Master, he asked, are you saying that my search itself obstructs my path to peace and fulfillment? The Buddha's smile was faint but profound. Ananda, peace is not an achievement but a discovery of what already exists. The disciples leaned closer, captivated by the unfolding of wisdom amidst their intimate gathering. When your mind wanders toward dissatisfaction, the Buddha continued, it distances you from the treasures of the present moment. Ananda furrowed his brow, pondering the paradox of his desires and his restless spirit. But, Master, he replied, how can one live without striving or yearning? Is not effort essential to growth? The effort that liberates, the Buddha explained, is not that of possession, but that of presence and clarity. His words resonated deeply, yet Ananda's uncertainties lingered in his heart like faint echoes. I cannot deny the endless yearning that claws at my soul, Ananda admitted. How can I silence it? Master? The Buddha gestured toward the sunset, its hues spreading across the vast expanse of the sky. The sunset does not lament the end of the day. It celebrates its place within the cycle of existence. Ananda and the disciples marveled at this metaphor, sensing its implications within their own restless hearts. Why must I embrace impermanence as though it brings meaning to my journey? Ananda asked, attempting to challenge the lesson. The Buddha paused thoughtfully before responding. Impermanence is the essence of life, not an obstacle but its flow. As darkness descended upon the gathering, the Buddha's voice softened yet retained its clarity. To find peace, Ananda, you must surrender the illusions of permanence and possession alike. The disciples closed their eyes, reflecting deeply on the paradox of presence. Master, Ananda ventured again, seeking closure. How do we begin to embrace this path toward clarity and freedom? The Buddha's gaze held him firmly in its unwavering depth, reflecting both compassion and unwavering certainty. The path begins, he declared, with ceasing to seek external satisfaction and turning inward to cultivate the seeds of mindfulness. Ananda listened closely, committing this truth to the folds of his unsettled heart. Reflect on the essence of life itself. The Buddha suggested, observe its dynamic rhythms and interconnected blessings to awaken its truth. The disciples sat, silently, allowing the Buddha's words to sink deeply into their wandering thoughts. Ananda, your longing for peace will diminish only when you become the peace you seek, the Buddha advised. The gathering remained still, the profound truth of his teachings echoing across the tranquil land. Let the currents of your soul flow freely, the Buddha concluded. For they are as unbound as the river's essence. His teachings filled the space like a timeless melody, weaving into the hearts of each disciple present. Another day began beneath a sky painted golden by the rising sun. The Buddha and his disciples walked to a bustling village. Merchants displayed wares along crowded streets, their voices calling out to the eager patrons. Children chased each other through narrow alleys, their laughter ringing out brightly. Amid this lively scene stood a boy clutching fragments of a broken bowl. Tears streamed silently as he stared at the shattered pottery. The Buddha paused, noticing the child's sorrow amidst the chaos, and approached him with quiet compassion. What troubles you, young one? The Buddha asked softly, his tone filled with understanding. The boy hesitated before replying, his words trembling with emotion. Master, this bowl was my favorite possession. It is shattered, and without it, I cannot feel happiness. The disciples gathered, watching intently as the Buddha crouched to examine the bowl's broken shards. Do you believe your happiness resides within these fragments? The Buddha inquired gently. The boy nodded, his eyes downcast, unable to contain his grief. The Buddha held up the largest shard, turning it toward the sunlight, which danced upon its edges. Look closely, the Buddha said. This shard reflects the light beautifully, yet it no longer serves as a bowl. The boy studied the shard, his expression shifting as he observed its fractured beauty. Master, he whispered, it is broken and can never be whole again. The Buddha smiled faintly and placed the shard upon the ground. All things are impermanent, the Buddha explained, and tying our satisfaction to impermanent objects leads us into suffering. The disciples listened closely, their thoughts drawn to moments of their own attachments and losses. True satisfaction cannot be bound to possessions, the Buddha continued, for possessions are fragile and transient by nature. The boy furrowed his brow, struggling to grasp the lesson amidst his lingering sorrow. But, Master, the boy asked, how can I find happiness without the things I care about? The Buddha regarded him kindly, then gestured toward the merchants selling their goods nearby. Observe them closely, child, the Buddha suggested. The boy watched the merchants, noticing their faces lined with weariness despite their success in trade. They possess much, yet their satisfaction appears fleeting, the boy said hesitantly. The Buddha nodded in affirmation. Satisfaction rooted in desire grows fleetingly but fades quickly, leaving emptiness in its wake, the Buddha explained with gentle conviction. Master, one disciple ventured, then where does lasting satisfaction reside? How do we find it within ourselves? Wisdom, the Buddha replied simply, his gaze sweeping across the gathered disciples. Wisdom allows you to release attachment and embrace the impermanence of all things. The disciples reflected deeply on these words, searching their hearts for clarity. But wisdom is intangible, another disciple protested. How can it bring the fulfillment we seek amidst the losses we endure? The Buddha gestured toward the surrounding village and its lively inhabitants. Fulfillment arises not from holding but from releasing, not from possessing but from appreciating the flow of life itself, he said. The boy listened intently, his grip on the broken bowl loosening as the weight of his grief lightened. The Buddha turned back to him with unwavering compassion in his gaze. The true bowl is your ability to hold and receive, not the vessel itself, he said calmly. Master, the boy asked hesitantly, do you mean my happiness lies within me, not within the bowl? Yes, young one, the Buddha affirmed. Happiness flourishes when you cultivate your inner harmony and cease clinging to impermanent things. The boy smiled faintly, his tears drying as understanding began to unfold. The disciples murmured quietly among themselves, reflecting on their own attachments and searching for deeper clarity. The Buddha's voice rose again, carrying the wisdom of ancient truths to meet their unspoken thoughts. Impermanence is not to be feared but embraced, for it reveals the essence of life's beauty and continuity, he said. When we cease clinging, we discover contentment that transcends the fragile and fleeting. The disciples nodded solemnly, their hearts stirred by the profound resonance of his teachings. The boy placed the broken shards on the ground, releasing the burden of his sorrow with quiet determination. The Buddha smiled gently as the boy's face lifted toward the sunlight, now warmed by hope instead of grief. The village grew lively once more, its bustling sounds intertwining with the timeless melody of impermanence. The disciples followed the Buddha onward, their minds illuminated by the light of his wisdom and their steps growing lighter with each moment. Together they departed, leaving the village behind yet carrying its lessons forward. Another day. The sun climbed high, casting its golden glow across the serene landscape and illuminating the tranquil countryside. The Buddha, alongside his disciples, journeyed to a hill where an elderly woman sat peacefully beneath a flowering tree. The woman greeted them warmly, offering water with a smile that radiated contentment and kindness. The Buddha observed her with quiet curiosity. "What is the source of your joy, mother?" he asked, his voice filled with gentle respect. The woman's expression softened, her gaze serene yet wise. "Master, my joy is rooted in the love I share with others." The disciples listened closely, sensing the profound truth embedded within her simple yet heartfelt words. "To give is to receive," the woman continued. "And this has been a truth I've learned through life's many challenges." The Buddha nodded, his gaze thoughtful, reflecting on the depth of her insight into the nature of contentment. "Your wisdom transcends possessions and desires," the Buddha remarked, "and unveils the essence of happiness that lies beyond the self." The woman's smile widened, her posture exuding humility and gratitude for the opportunity to share her understanding. "Master," one disciple ventured, "is contentment truly attainable when one faces loss and impermanence throughout life?" The Buddha paused, his gaze resting upon the horizon where the earth met the infinite sky. "Contentment," the Buddha replied, "is not the absence of desire but the presence of compassion that connects us to one another." The disciples reflected deeply on this profound truth, recognizing the interplay of giving and receiving as fundamental. "Master," another disciple questioned, "how can we cultivate compassion when our hearts struggle against selfishness and personal sorrow?" The Buddha gestured to the elderly woman, inviting her to speak further on the wisdom she embodied. "Compassion," she said softly, "is born from understanding the shared struggles of all beings and offering love that transcends one's own pain." The disciples nodded solemnly, their hearts stirred by the gentle power of her words. "Through serving others," the Buddha added, "we transcend the bounds of self and taste the nectar of true happiness." The woman placed her hand over her heart, embodying the essence of the teachings being shared. As the wind rustled the flowering tree, the Buddha continued, his voice carrying the wisdom of infinite interconnectedness. "Contentment lies not in taking but in giving, not in holding but in sharing life's blessings freely." "Master," a younger disciple asked, "does this mean that to seek satisfaction, we must abandon our individual desires completely?" The Buddha observed him, his gaze compassionate yet firm in its depth and clarity. "To seek satisfaction is to align your inner harmony with the rhythm of the universe's infinite dance," the Buddha explained. The disciples pondered his words, attempting to unravel the mystery of their yearning hearts and shared humanity. The dance of life flows when we embrace its impermanence and foster love that transcends the fragile boundaries of self. The disciples closed their eyes, imagining this cosmic rhythm as they absorbed the teachings within their souls. Master, another disciple inquired, how do we begin to align ourselves with this rhythm you describe? The Buddha smiled faintly, recognizing their earnest pursuit of understanding within the limitless depths of existence. The path begins with mindfulness, the Buddha replied. When we nurture compassion, we synchronize our hearts with the pulse of universal truth. The elderly woman placed her hand on the younger disciple's shoulder, offering comfort and silent encouragement. The disciples knelt before the Buddha, their hearts opening to receive the timeless wisdom echoing through his presence. Serve others with love and humility, the Buddha urged, and you will discover peace that knows no boundaries. Let the wellspring of compassion within you flow freely, nurturing not only others but also your own eternal spirit. The disciples bowed deeply, the teachings embedding themselves within their hearts like seeds waiting to bloom. Together, the disciples and the Buddha rose to depart, carrying the wisdom of the woman and the hill's serenity forward. As they descended, the sky stretched infinitely, its expanse embracing them with a quiet, unspoken promise of unity. The dance of life continued, and the wandering hearts began to find their home within the rhythm of shared existence. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.